Welcome to another season of the Compose Like a Girl podcast. I'm your host, founder, and composer Jocelyn Hagan. My Compose Like a Girl initiative amplifies female-identifying composers, helps conductors diversify their concerts, and works toward more equality in music programming and commissioning. I've been sitting down for conversations with some amazing composers, and I want to invite you into these deeper explorations of art and life. I hope you leave with some inspiration, just as I did. On today's episode, I'm sharing a recent conversation I had with Shara Nova. I must admit, the first time I met Shara, I fangirled quite a bit. I had been a big fan for years. We were both commissioned by Conspirare for some very interesting concerts, so I met her in Austin, Texas in 2022. I knew her first as a singer and a songwriter. In fact, if you listened to the very first episode of this podcast, you heard her beautiful voice on Sarah Kirkland Snyder's Penelope. I'm thrilled that she is now getting regularly commissioned to compose for other singers and ensembles. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy. Hi, Shara. Welcome.
Hello! So nice to talk with you.
You are known as Shara Nova, previously Shara Warden, and also as My Brightest Diamond. And the first time I heard your work was when my husband shared your album with me, Bring Me the Workhorse, released in 2006. This is your first album, correct?
That was my first My Brightest Diamond record. I had released a project of my own songs in college, and then I moved to New York and put out 2 records under the name Awry. And I learned so much on those albums, but there was a lot of different kinds of orchestration on that. And really, Bring Me the Workhorse was this culmination of kind of all of the things that I had learned, but really my relationship with the drummer, Earl Harvin, cemented this concept in my mind. And so there was a band and strings, and I whacked on a vibraphone on that first record. So it was kind of trying to synthesize all of these loves and really have an ongoing conversation with Earl.
Yeah, I think what we fell in love with was the fact that it was this beautiful mix of classical, compositional craft, right? All those instruments and just the way it was orchestrated. But then also, the rock aspect of it too, which we both also loved. My favorite song on that album is Golden Star. I would love to know if there's a story behind that song.
Well, I was processing so many things with my family, and so all of those songs are really about loss in our family. And I remember there was this one car ride I had with my mother, and she put her arm around me, and it was just a sweet moment. There's so many times, I guess, that I just was rebelling against this kind of very, in many ways, conservative family culture. And I was often at odds with my parents. And I think after our loss, it changed the way we saw each other. And there was a kind of tenderness that I had toward her. So the gender and the relationship was not important to me I didn't want to expose that in the writing itself. So it's not there, but it was simply from my mother putting her arm around me, and that's how the song was born.
Oh, I really love that so much. My mom and I are close. We're both musicians, and even just a few years ago, I was writing a piece at the cabin, which is where she lives in the summertime. And she came up and I was finishing up the song and I started to cry because it was about a mother who lost her daughter. And I just started weeping at the piano, and I'll never forget my mom coming up behind me and putting her arms around me as I finished that. But I love that you brought up the word tenderness. And And that is such an important quality to show others and to just feel each other's humanity through that tenderness. And in a world that can be so divided and so nasty, it's just a wonderful reminder that we are capable of tenderness.
And that when you're disagreeing with someone, sometimes finding those places of connection. I still disagree with you, and I also still embrace you. You know, that feeling of, I don't have to agree with you, but that's not going to take away my love for you or my respect for you or the way that I can honor you or whatever it is, like to build those bridges. I think that song is kind of about finding ways of doing that inside of tension.
Another one of my favorite songs of yours is This Is My Hand. I find it just incredibly powerful and strong, and I love the way that song makes me feel. Does that song have a story?
Yeah, I was working with Eighth Blackbird in Chicago, actually, and they were doing a piece by Philip Glass, and I'd never really heard anything like that, and it was just a cell that would add a note here and take away a note and then add another note and take it away again and then add 6 more notes and take that away, you know? And I just thought that the kind of like addition and subtraction of pitches was a really, really interesting musical idea. And then from a story perspective, I was really trying to find a ritual or a way of regaining some of my bodily autonomy, my connection to my own body, to embrace myself at another deeper level. So I just started by making a very simple list. This is my hand, this is my face, this is my age, this is my name. You know, just all the ways that I identified with the body, and it's a prayer as much as it is, you know, anything else, or an act, a ritual of reconnecting to self. That's how that song was born.
Let's listen now to This Is My Hand from the album of the same name, performed by Shara's band, My Brightest Diamond.
This is my hand, this is my wrist, this is my arm, this is my fist. Like a twisted vine wraps around entwining. This is my face, this is my mouth, this is my eye, this is my brow. Like lilac wine pouring out to thee, for thee. This is my shape, this is my form, this is my age, this is my frame, this is my mind, this is my voice, this is my heart. This is my choice, this is my thigh, this is my sex, this is my hip, this is my breast, this is my shadow, this is my hate, this is my line, this is my doubt, this is my gloom, my flame, my joy, my aim to love. This is my shape, this is my form, this is my age, this is my frame, this is my mind, this is my voice, this is my heart, this is my choice, this is my time, this is my breath, this is my right, this is my left, this is my shadow, this is my hate, this is my line, this is my doubt, this is my gloom, my flame, my joy, my aim to love, to
Okay, back to your My Brightest Diamond albums. How much of those pieces are you notating music for? Or is it something that kind of happens within the improvisational process? Are you composing those parts? Are you engraving them into finale and sending them off to people?
So I write in Pro Tools, and I have for a very long time. And so I would demo the songs out with some kind of very rough drum beat. And oftentimes Earl and I will check in the process of writing the tunes, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes I just show up with a Pro Tools session and we record and we do it. So Earl's parts are never notated, and he is arranging his drum parts really 100%. But I come with a click track, kind of demo recording, and sometimes we would record directly into that, but my demos are always the foundation. And then Chris Bruce plays bass, and I never tell Chris what to do because Chris is absolutely a genius. But I'm coming with chord structures and everything, but Earl and Chris are absolutely just phenomenal arrangers. And then all the other parts, the strings and any orchestration is all notated. And I used to do it by pencil for a long time. Bring Me the Workhorse was done by pencil. And I think also the second record was also done by pencil. Painstaking pencil.
Oh, yeah.
And then by All Things Will Unwind, which was the Y Music record, I was working in Sibelius. And Zach Ray was also fundamental, and he was doing a lot of that synth work on those records, and that was all a collaboration with Zach, I think. To stay within the harmonic sphere that I had laid out. It's funny, I have to say for just a second that as a female artist, I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked if I do my own orchestration. And it's so repetitive and it's so frequent that even though the records say produced and written and arranged and recorded by Shara, if there are men around, they still get so much credit. And, I think for a long time, I wanted to prove so much what I was capable of doing, and I wanted to do everything on my own and not allow anyone to besides Earl and Chris, and a little bit Zach, to improvise. And I am very anti-jam. I just had too many specific ideas that I wanted to achieve, and a lot of details and a lot of care that I wanted to put into the music. And so then I would say that over the years, I started getting so busy that I needed to start to hire out because orchestral arrangements are a slower process for me. And so I would hire out some things. And so I think, I was kind of always like, Nina Simone, my favorite singer, she didn't do her own arrangements. Why am I insisting on doing all of my own stuff just to prove that I can, when in fact, I'm still having to prove that I can, even though I've already done the work. So I don't want me trying to prove something to anymore be in the writing or in the music. I just simply want to write good songs. I do admit at this age that I do have some fatigue around that, having to continually insist, even after all of the things that I've done, that I'm the one that did them. But I find comfort in the fact that many of my colleagues experienced the same thing. So we're still not there yet to believe what women are capable of or what female presenting people are capable of. And, hopefully there will just be more and more people doing their work and it will become a non-issue, but maybe not in my lifetime.
Thank you for talking about that. At the beginning of my career, I kind of liked surprising people and, just kind of embracing the fact that, hey, you didn't think that could come out of me, but it did.
Mm-hmm.
And then, more recently, I just got really sick of that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, haven't I shown that I know how to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a frustrating thing to go through, to realize, man, why don't people just expect that this is what I do and that I am capable of it? And yeah, that got real tiring.
I have to zoom out in time too and just remember in my own lifetime when I was 18, no one identified me as a composer and no one even suggested that I could have studied composition. So we have come a long way since 1992, that there are more people in the composition department and we're getting new voices and everyone's bringing more culture. It's not just like, can we keep upholding this European canon idea into what classical music is? So I'm very excited when I see the young people that are in school now or making music now. I do feel like the landscape is really going to change in an exciting way.
I do too. I think we've gotten some great push in the last few years to just be conscious of it all and to really think about how we're programming and why. And it frustrates me when part of this initiative, the Compose Like a Girl initiative, is the fact that I've been mentoring women composers via Zoom since the pandemic started. And I've got about 30 women now, 30 that I've been working with. And I'm still amazed when I hear a young composer who's 20 something and who has approached a publisher and they're not giving her any attention. And I look at her work and I'm like, oh yeah, let's get this published. I can sell this. you know, this is great work, but for some reason from the big mainstay publishers, they're not encouraging her or, offering her much in terms of compensation. And that it really frustrates me. So I'm trying to help solve that problem for a few of these women and say, no, you have other options. You don't have to go this route. And I see you and I know what you're doing and I value you and you are capable of this. You are capable of this profession and being recognized for this work that you are doing.
I love that you're doing that. Mentorship and even just going to work for somebody and studying their process. I have been so blessed to have worked with Laurie Anderson and to have been able, it wasn't like a official internship or an official apprenticeship or any kind of formal relationship like that, but just that I could go in, sing background vocals with her, have her as my friend, have her conversation with her. That kind of relationship and apprenticeship has taught me more than I think maybe any class ever could. is just on the job, real world experience of working with artists who've been in the field for 20, 30 years more than you and, learning from them. And, as a person with only an undergraduate degree, I think on the job, like life experience has taught me really everything, but those relationships are so invaluable.
Yes. May I ask what kind of work you were doing for Laurie Anderson?
My first introduction to her was I sang background vocals on a show that she did called Homeland at the Rose Theater. And so we had a week of rehearsals and then a week of concerts. And that was the beginning of my relationship with her. And then we've done a couple of other collaborations over the years. I was able to be the music director for her induction into the Joe's Pub Artist in Residency, which was a real thrill to pour over her catalog and put an evening show together of amazing artists to honor her. So, and she liked it. That was great.
Oh, that is great. That's one thing I definitely wanted to ask you about, because you wear so many different hats, as performer, as composer. You not only perform your own works, but you perform the works of others. Yeah, producing, organizing these types of things. Is that hard? Does that get difficult, code switching all the time?
For me, it's fun because I'm never bored. And I always have some kind of new puzzle to solve. I would say that it's partially just an economic thing that I just am doing different things. But I'm also I kind of have always been that way, where I was hanging out with people in the art department and then hanging out with the jazzers and then going to do opera and then singing at church gig and singing in choir. I kind of have always always been that person. So it's kind of consistent with who I was even as a child.
So then I'm sure there isn't really a favorite then. You like the variety.
I need the variety. If I was doing only singing or only composing, I would not feel like myself.
Yeah.
It's terrible for marketing. It's absolutely terrible. It's a horrible marketing strategy, but it has also allowed me to endure and to kind of have a sort of sustainable economic life as well, because I have been able to jump into these different worlds and not just rely on whether I had commercial success in one place or another. And that has been artistic freedom for me in many, many ways.
So when was your first piece of choral music that you wrote? Like, when did that happen?
Bryce and Aaron Desner had curated a festival called Crossing Brooklyn Ferry at BAM. And Brooklyn Youth Chorus was performing on one of the stages that they had. And I thought, this is my chance to try my hand at choral writing. So let me just try an arrangement and give it to them and see if they'll take it. And because the festival was so collaborative and there was a lot of cross-pollinating that was happening, and that's really the culture that the Desners have always fostered, is this collaborative spirit. So that was kind of in the DNA of that festival. And so I took a chance and wrote this song for Brooklyn Youth Chorus, and they liked it. And that was the kind of proof of concept that I could write, and then they commissioned me to do more pieces after that. So it really, sometimes in order to get your foot in the door, you have to do stuff, for free and then get better over time. And I think that's the other thing, is that I was trying to kind of push choral writing in certain ways And now I kind of understand, well, the acoustics work like this, and these things about choirs are, this aspect might be more difficult, and this works well, or this, that and the other thing. So my choral writing is improving the more that I do it, if I do say so myself.
Well, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, your pieces on both of those albums are great. In fact, if we had to choose, and also Titration, that's the album before this one, right? The earlier album with The Crossing, right? So if, for this podcast, we only get to really listen to a portion or one movement of something. So if you had to pick one movement or one piece of choral music for us to listen to, which one would you pick and why?
Resolve is my favorite, from Carols After the Plague. I think that there is, I feel emotional talking about it. It's the way that a choir can call us to something, can issue a call to us. And the Crossing especially can do that in such an incredibly powerful way. And that song is about, is talking about the plague of racism in this country and the commitments that we made at the murder of George Floyd. And although the piece itself doesn't talk about that, it's about calling us to continue to question the resolves that we made at that time and saying, where are my commitments? Have I kept them? And so it's a piece that I need to keep hearing. I need to keep asking myself that over and over every day, to make sure that I haven't slipped into my own comfort. Because it's so easy to just allow my comfort to, kind of numb me. And that song is a jolt to say, hey, remember what was important to you, and don't let it take another tragedy for you to get the fervor again.
Yeah. What an amazing message. And as human beings, we're wired to be, I think, complacent or to rest. It's survival mode, right? Conserve your energy, conserve your resources, and getting up every day and reminding yourself, okay, I'm gonna try harder than I did yesterday, or I'm gonna be better than I was yesterday. Striving for that every day is work. And I think a lot of people, especially now that I'm really in midlife in my 40s, I think about that. I think, I understand how easy it could be to kind of give up right now and just decide, I'm done growing. I don't want to strive anymore. I've gotten to this point and I can settle for that. And I don't think that's in my nature, but man, I feel it tugging at my sleeves sometimes.
I think that when you're establishing your career, you have so much ambition, and then you reach the point that we're in, which is like, okay, I got my train track is going here, and it's taken so much energy just to establish this, to get this train built. And okay, I got this, at least I have some momentum going here. And so I relate to that of feeling like a kind of surprise at this time in life to realize I am going to prioritize things differently than I did. And I still have ambition, but my ambition, the direction of it is going to change a bit. And instead of just looking at my individual, it's more like I've become more about we than I. And so how do I open my vision to say, what can I contribute at this point? How do I shift my focus from only being about my own career or establishing these sort of things? What about we? And I think that can come with age. If you were in a culture that didn't teach that enough to you, which I'll speak for myself. That's where I came from.
Yeah. My husband Tim and I talk about that a lot, how when we remember and embrace the fact that our careers and what we do every day is really an act of service, it is so much more fulfilling and meaningful that way, to just to recognize it as that. And yeah, just kind of take that self out of it, you know? That's an interesting way to look at it, is taking out the I, thinking more we, how can we be better?
I know now, after the pandemic, I know that it is my relationships that got me through that. My relationships in music are what helped sustain me, because the only way I can say that I survived those years was through other artists really reaching out and us helping each other. And I think that impacted me a lot, to just see that I didn't have an institution to fall back on. I had friends. And whew, I'm so grateful.
I wish you great joy.
That was Resolve from Carols After the Plague, sung by The Crossing. Shara, I'd love to hear you talk a bit about navigating the economics of a creative life, since I know yours combines travel for performance, composition, and much more.
I try to be home. You know, it's a delicate balance. I have a son, and so I really, really try to be home for him 50% of the time. It's
Yeah.
a challenge, to be sure.
Yeah, and I think that that's one thing that people who aren't in the arts or are not performing musicians don't realize. Yes, you're touring and you're doing all this great work and you're going all over the country, all over the world, and it's a huge sacrifice. And it's not always joyful. In fact, sometimes it's the opposite of joy. And for many of us who are mothers who have family back home, it just makes that stress even more painful, I think. And yeah, I've kind of tried to limit how often I leave anymore, just because I don't want to be away from them for that long. I have two boys,
Mm,
and my youngest is 12, so there's 6 more years before he's
mm,
he's gonna he's gonna go. And I want to have all that time. I don't want to have to be gone so much. I don't want to economically need to leave so often to support this family. You're right, it's a delicate balance.
hmm I remember, I'll never forget, I was singing Death Speaks at Carnegie Hall, and David Lang was there. And here I was singing for a composer that I loved so much, who had written this piece for me. And I was playing with artists I love so much, Nico Muhly, Bryce Dessner, Owen Pallett. I
Mhm.
mean, it was kind of like, it was a dream come true. It was such a dream come true. And I barely had, I don't remember, a couple pennies to my name. I mean, I was so poor at that point and just struggling so much. And I had this illusion about what it meant to be David Lang. And he said to me, "You've come too far to quit now." And that it doesn't change. Like, he said, "I'm still, working on my account too, Shara." And it was just like, I'm not going to tell you what figure he dropped on me, but it was a shock. It was a shock.
Yeah.
And so it was a disillusionment that to be in this hall of my dreams, doing the thing of my dreams, was necessarily going to mean have certain financial implications. But the reality is that I have lived a life of freedom, and I am able to talk to people on the street and have a conversation with them and write songs with them, and I'm able to sing for the Queen. And I have gone from, the sidewalk to the Queen's right hand. And I think that the privilege that I've had of being able to travel through society at every class level, it's given me a perspective on people that I'm so glad that I have that. Like, what other career gets to walk side by side with such a diverse spectrum of humanity? And I'm so thankful for that perspective. I really,
Ah,
really am. And I think, and I hope that even in being away, that experience I'm able to give to my child. And it isn't without cost, it isn't without emotional difficulty. It is an irony that, um, the arts are funded by people who don't have as much freedom in many ways and yet are so much more wealthy, which is, it's a dichotomy. But I'm grateful for support, and I also realize that the freedom that I have is also invaluable.
I want to get back to something that I recently read, that you said in an interview. Let's see, this was with Music Cares or Music Cares.
Mm,
Um, how Shara Nova amplified her career by keeping a wild belief in herself and other women. And first
mm,
of all, it's just an awesome title for that. But within the first couple paragraphs, you talk about your musical family and your upbringing there. And you said something that really stuck with me because I'd never thought of it this way. But you said, there was never a time that music was not in my life, and it is part of the way love is communicated in the family.
mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, my grandfather was a guitar player and a pastor, and the family made a family gospel record in Nashville, pulled up, played their songs and recorded in a couple hours, and they made
Oh
a
my
record
gosh.
with a like Nashville studio band.
Hmm.
So family and church kind of was all mixed together in making music. My grandmother sang harmony, and my grandfather also wrote a few songs, not a whole lot, but and then they had 3 children, 3 sons, and all of them played in the family band as well. And then my mother was a classical organist and pianist, also has a twin sister who's a beautiful pianist and singer, and her husband is a world class classical pianist, won the Van Cliburn competition in the
Oh, wow.
70s. And I mean,
Yeah.
he's the real deal. And he's also a ragtime specialist. So the family getting together, it was just expected that we would perform. We didn't do a whole lot of things together. It was more about like singing for each other or playing for each other, or just somebody's going to be playing the piano at some point. So that really is a way that we connect to each other. And music is a language, so we're talking and sharing.
Yeah. I think the same is true in my family. And it's always one of my favorite things when we're all together and we decide to start making music together. It doesn't happen all the time. And I'm more in the fact a little bit that my boys aren't all that into music. Like they're
Mm.
kind of having, it might just be how old they are now. Middle school is rough, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not cool because it's what mom and dad do. That's kind of how I
Yes.
feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really hoping that we're investing with them, making them take lessons and practice, and that someday they will be able to tap into the joy inherent in music in a different way, and that it's not just forced upon them. But I think about the fact that 100 years ago or whatever, music was a pastime that people just
Yes.
spent a lot of time doing, and almost every home had a piano in it. And
Yes.
how today it's like, hey, if you check Facebook Marketplace, it's like, oh yeah, a piano, I need to get rid of it. You can have it, just come pick it up. Our relationship with music is very different at that level too, and that saddens me a bit.
I think it's bad for humanity. I think it's a
Yeah.
travesty. I think it's bad for the human being. I think we have lost the plot. We've become couch potatoes. We need to get it together. Which means all these music schools churning out all these musicians and all trying to get to Broadway or trying to get this. We've got to create a local culture. We've got to go to the open mic. We've got to whip out a guitar. And when you're at the party on Friday night, you've got to say a poem or, have a song in your back pocket that you can whip out, like we have to be active. And I think that the human being suffers for losing the fact that it is a human right to make art, to draw, to dance, to sing, to make a noise, make a joyful noise. And so I'll get on my high horse about that.
That's a good high horse, I tell you. And well, it reminds me too of I have a friend who teaches choir at the college level, and after the pandemic, he told me that a lot of students would write in and say, "Oh, I'm sick, or I'm not feeling well, or I need a personal day, I need a mental health day," all these things. What I just was bursting to say was, those are the days they really need to come in and sing, right? When you're
Mm.
having this awful kind of, maybe not sick, but like just everything's kind of down and dreary and you're having a tough time getting out of bed, that's the thing to get out of bed for, is to go sing, go use your body to make something that's bigger than yourself, and to be a part of something with others like that and share that experience. And I
It's
tell
clinically
people
proven that it's good for your health.
that's right. It is. It is.
It
And one
increases
of the
serotonin to sing with other people.
yeah, yeah.
Make your own community choir out there, listeners. Even if that's singing with just one other friend or two other friends, like just
Right.
sing. Yeah.
Well, and if you're a composer and you want to be writing choral music, if you're not singing in a choir, that's a problem. That's what you need to be doing. You need to go and be a part of it and really understand it at that basic level. So find some place to sing and be a part of a community.
I remember when I experienced my big loss, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I wasn't really functional, frankly. And the only thing I was able to do was to join a community choir and sing. And I just was in it for the fall, but it was so helpful. And I would cry. I would just sit there and cry. I didn't know anybody else in the choir. Nobody knew what was going on with me, but just to be able to sit amongst the other voices and calm my nervous system by just being in the room. And when I could squeak out a note, great. But that was a lifeline for me to return to singing with a choir. I'll never forget that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's a great reminder to all of us. And, when my schedule got busy, I stopped singing in the choir that I had sung in for years and was composer in residence with. And I think about that, and now I sing with my husband, which is great fun. But, I don't know if in my future, will there be another choir I'm a part of? I feel like there probably should be one, but I haven't figured out how that will fold into my life.
It's a funny thing being a composer because we get to dip into these choirs and feel that connection with them. And I love that feeling of being able to work with these different choirs and pop in. And then I always get a little sad that I don't belong to them when I leave, It's like, I wish I was in your choir. But it's we find our belonging in other ways, I guess. But yeah, it's what kind of has me still wanting to write choir music over and over again, because I want that feeling of being in the group and belonging and feeling like I have a place. Yeah. It's a good feeling.
It is. You are such an inspiration, and I was really nervous when I met you because I was like, oh, I could just be fangirling really easily and kind of going crazy. I had to like take a deep breath and, just because I've looked up to you for so long, and you make music that really speaks to me. And it's just an honor to know you this way. And, I'm just very grateful for it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And now you just have to suffer with me being a fan of yours, Jocelyn. And calling you up and bugging you and asking you to mentor me too.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. No, I really hope our paths cross again soon, because I didn't get enough Shara when I was there. It was tricky because there were also all these people, and it's like, oh gosh, I want to know all of you, and I want to know what makes you tick and know your music. And then, but yeah, no, I was very, very excited knowing that you were going to be someone I was going to actually get to spend time with. And we've just got to figure out how to make that happen again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I appreciate you so much, Jocelyn.
One thing that I love about witnessing you and your journey and the music you've made in your career is that these things are side by side. You're writing this beautiful and intricate and just provocative choral music. And then you're also a punk rock star badass. You hold both of these things together. And I definitely look up to you. And yeah. And you know what? We talked about singing all the time. I think we need to sing together. Maybe we should make that
all
happen.
Right. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, I miss you,
Thank
and
you
I
so
can't
much.
wait to see you again. Thank you,
Yes,
Shara.
we'll find a window.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you so much for gifting me with your words and appreciation. I really thank you. And it's all about songs and having everyone's unique perspective be able to be in the room. And I was a little weirdo outsider, and I wanted to find that there was space for me in the world. And if there's space for me, then there's space for other people. And we all bring ourselves into the room, hopefully as bravely as we can. And I've learned so much just from listening to one choral piece from you in an afternoon. It was like, get my pen out. How in the world did she just send leg chills down my spine like that? So, and the gift of reflecting to each other what we see in each other. And, you didn't know that you got those leg zaps every time. It's just like, how did she do that? But that's because you put so much of yourself into that music. So, and the amount that you've done to foster a culture and a community around you with the publishing is just phenomenal. So keep going.
Shara, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you. That means the world to me that you would think that of me and my work and what I hold dear. So thank you for making my day, making my week, making my month. That means a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're real good.
Oh, you're real good. I just want to say that Shara has so many incredible tracks through My Brightest Diamond. Some of my other favorites are Rocket in My Pocket, Pressure, It's Me on the Dance Floor, Be Brave, Golden Star, and Workhorse. Do yourself a favor and spend some time doing a deep dive. You won't be disappointed. Compose Like a Girl was produced by Justin Schell, Laura Kreider, and me, Jocelyn Hagen, with special help from fellow composers Erica Malpass and Addie Struckman. The Compose Like a Girl theme music was composed by cellist Cicely Parnas. Thank you all for helping me with this vision. Thanks also to New Focus Recordings for their permission to use the Crossings recording on today's episode. You can learn more about Shara Nova and My Brightest Diamond and her music at shara-nova.com and by following her on social media. Check out the links in our show notes, visit jocelynhagen.com/composelikeagirl, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram to listen to the music we talked about today, learn more about the Compose Like a Girl initiative, and check out past episodes. You can also find choral programming ideas by checking out the Compose Like a Girl choral series through Graphite Publishing. You can subscribe to the Compose Like a Girl podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're so moved, rate us on Apple Podcasts and share it with a few friends who you think will find inspiration. This really helps us create a sustainable podcast. Until next time, trust your instincts. Be brave and unapologetic for your talents. Thanks for listening.